What exactly is the appeal of the Royal Enfield Himalayan? This is a follow-up to my first review that I did, and that was after having the bike for a couple of weeks. I'd gone on a couple of rides, ridden it around town a little bit, so I did have some opinions, and I don't want to discount everything that I said, but I think now I have the ability to have a little bit more of a thoughtful perspective on what I really like about the Himalayan. Make sure you watch to the end where we go to the garage and take a look, and I'll point out some of the things that I really like about it. I'll also point out some of the things that I don't particularly care about. Let's start this whole thing off with going backwards just a little bit. There's something that happened that took me out of cruiser mode, big 1800cc engine, to being able to purchase a Himalayan with 411 cc's. It all started this last summer when my family and I took a trip to Europe for about a month. We started in London, went through Paris, Rome, Florence, Pompeii, Capri. Then we went back to Rome, hopped on some trains, went north through Switzerland, up to Bremen, Germany, and ended up in Berlin. Then we flew back home. Being a motorcycle guy, I had my eyes peeled for all the two-wheelers running around in front of me. I mean, hey, we were in Europe. I was planning on seeing a lot of Beamers, planning on seeing some Moto Guzzis. If you live over there right now, you're probably smiling right now because you know exactly what I ran into. The vast majority of the two-wheel vehicles over there were not above 250 cc's. There were scooters, there were a few motorcycles mixed in, but these folks were living their daily lives dependent 100% on their livelihood on these low-powered machines. It made me think just a little bit, maybe I don't have to have the biggest and the baddest out there. Maybe. We did go through Italy, and I've always had this picture of myself on the Italian coast with the Mediterranean at the back, the sun setting, me and my wife on some rented scooters, Vespas, Piaggios, riding along the coast, taking selfies. I was totally good with that. The one thing about that, though, there was nobody that I knew that was actually going to see me doing it. Now, I'm not dogging scooters, just not my style. I bought my first Harley in 1989 as a basket case, $500 from Harley-Davidson of Dallas. Fixed that sucker up, rode it around, moved up to Colorado. Didn't have snow chains for it, so I got a car for a while. I've had a 2003 Wide Glide. I've had a 2007 Softail Deluxe. I've had a 2012 Road King. I've had, not as many bikes as a lot of y'all out there, but for the most part, I haven't had anything ever under 400 cc's. So anyway, the result of my Europe trip and seeing everything that I did see over there, it really began to break the dam on what I wanted in a motorcycle. The other thing that happened is I left the corporate world. I work for myself now. I work up in my studio above my garage doing voice acting. I don't have to drive to work anymore. I don't have to ride to work anymore. So my Harley was sitting in the garage collecting dust. And really, I don't take a lot of trips just for the sake of taking trips on the road. I've done it, it's been fun, but that's just not my primary thing. My motorcycles have always been used to get me back and forth from work. It's a great way to shift gears coming out of work, getting away from that stuff, blowing it away, so to speak, and then getting back home and having your gears totally switched whenever you do get there. That's what my motorcycles have been for. I suddenly didn't have that anymore. So I started thinking, I want a motorcycle that I can just have fun on. My original thought was, let's check out this Royal Enfield Continental GT. I've always loved the Triumph Thruxtons, but I've just never pulled the trigger on it. I like the roadster idea. I like the cafe racer, or whatever you call it. So I thought, you know what? Maybe this is something that I could get that I would totally enjoy. But then again, I had my Harley at the dealership and I was ready to trade for one of these guys and I just couldn't do it. For some reason, the thought of even riding that on the street just wasn't appealing to me. So keep in mind, I began to think, I want a bike that I can have fun on. I just want to enjoy a motorcycle and me. And how can I best do that? While I was at the dealership, I will have to say that the Himalayan was staring at me, and I stared at it back because it was funky looking and it was looking at me really strange. 411 cc's, I couldn't get past it quite yet. Not quite. But there was something about it that appealed to me. So then one day I was eating lunch and I was watching YouTube. I started watching some motorcycle reviews because I'm trying to figure out what kind of bike can make this happen, this dream that I have. And I came across Darcy and the Old Man. By the way, everybody that I mentioned, the links to their channels are going to be down in my description because I owe them. They opened my eyes to some of these possibilities that I wouldn't have thought about or accepted without their input. So I appreciate them. But I started watching Darcy and the Old Man. I saw him do several different reviews and I saw him review the Himalayan. And they didn't have negative things to say about it. They did say, if you want a cruiser for touring across the country on the roads, probably not the right bike. I agree with that. I can see that. Then I found this guy, Kamikaze Moto. His name is Justin. And he said, I rode my Himalayan from Seattle back to Alaska, where he picked it up. There wasn't a Himalayan dealership in Alaska. So that was a 6-part series. And I was totally hooked. I started watching that and I saw the views, and those views that are on his channel are the same ones that are right around my house. And I said, man, that is what I want. Then he said, one of my primary influences was Itchy Boots. I'm thinking, what the heck's an Itchy Boot? Anyway, we all know who Itchy Boots is, so I went and watched some of her videos when her driving around on her Himalayan. Here it is, another Himalayan going through crazy stuff, going in off-road trails, going through mud and muck and rocks and just having a blast with it. So I want to point something out. I've got the Himalayan specs right here coming up on the screen. They are not super impressive. In fact, if you look at this on paper, you would be like me and say, I'm not sure I want to go there. But then again, what I had to do is keep my eye on the prize. What exactly do I want to accomplish? What is the desired outcome that I want as a result of getting my next motorcycle? And the reality is, I want elevation. I want big views. I want to get up some trails. I want to take advantage of the thousands of miles of trails in my area. In fact, here is an aerial view of the trails just in my area coming up on the screen. It's amazing how many there are. So with that in mind, let's take a look at this bike and see if it accomplishes that goal. Your goal may be completely different. I totally respect that. I am a fan of everybody riding the motorcycle that they want to ride for the reasons that they want to ride it. Me talking about a Himalayan doesn't say anything else is not good. Not even remotely. There are so many great bikes out there. It's really, really hard to make a decision on which way you want to go. That is no joke. There are great bikes all over the place. Every brand has got great bikes. So let's go back. This is my very first ride the day after I bought my Himalayan. I rode up Kennebec Pass, got to 11,500 feet elevation. I was able to see the tops of mountains for miles and miles and miles. One day after I bought this darn bike, mission accomplished. The funny thing about that is, that didn't satisfy me because there's a lot of peaks out there. There's a lot of summits. There's a lot of passes. There are a lot of mountains that you can go on. Well, Ron, how many mountain peaks and passes do you want to ride up? To which I would answer, how many passes and peaks and summits are there? Bam! It's that simple. I want an adventure. I want to explore something that I have never seen before. And I don't want to pedal to get up there. I can, and it's great exercise, and it's a lot of fun. But oh my gosh, I'm good with a motor. So whichever bike it is you choose, I definitely encourage you to go on adventures of your own, whatever that looks like, whether it's mountain passes and peaks or not. If it's just riding down the street, do that. Have your adventure. Accomplish your goals. Do it. The Himalayan is probably not my forever bike, just like all the other bikes that I've had weren't my forever bike either, but it's a heck of a place to start. I think that the Himalayan is a perfect representation of the saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. If you're looking on paper, it may not look super impressive, but I gotta tell you, of all the bikes I have owned since 1989, I have had more fun in basically 2 months worth of riding than I have on all of those combined in that time frame in just 2 months. Before I list out my reasons for it, if you enjoy this kind of content and the videos that I make, please slap a like on it. Consider subscribing. I'd love to have you along with my journeys and adventures. The reason I'm doing this reflective look at the Himalayan is because I just put together my 2022 highlight reel for my rides. Of the 8 rides that I did, it took me, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours to edit it all together, cutting and splicing, and the video was not awesome. The audio a lot of times was not awesome. I breathe too much. You can tell I'm working. There's no doubt about that. I'm getting better though. But the whole time I was doing that, I had the biggest, dumbest grin on my face, just trying to figure out what I wanted to put in this video. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will. Let's go down in the garage. I'm going to point a few things out to you. All right, here we are down at the garage, and we're going to take a look at the bike and walk through a list of some of the things that I like and some of the things that I don't like about the Himalayan. We're going to start with the negatives first. The main issue that I have with this motorcycle, the one thing that I wish it had that it doesn't have, is probably a few more cc's. Whenever I'm going up mountain passes and stuff, I really have to downshift to try to keep up with the speed limit. To be fair, my truck does downshift whenever I'm going up mountain passes and that thing as well. So I guess it's not unreasonable to feel like I have to downshift this as well. Really and truly, that's the biggest challenge that I have. There's really nothing else that I don't like about the bike. At least nothing that's really important. Now, one thing I am going to do is switch out this seat. I'm probably going to get the seat concept seat for this. I don't like how scooped out it is. I think probably as I get my more aggressive tires on and I get up on the trails that require a little bit more aggressive riding and more ability to shift around in the saddle, I want this to be flatter. I also want a higher seat to be able to spread my legs out just a little bit, give me a little bit more room in the cockpit. So those are kind of the two negatives. One of them is really inherently with the bike. The other issue, there's a lot of ADV bikes that have this kind of seat configuration, so I can't really fault the Himalayan for that. It's just my preference. I want a little more height, and I want to be able to move around a little bit more in the saddle as well. So let's get on to the positives about the bike. I would be totally lying if I didn't say that the price point of this bike at $5,400, whatever it is now for the new 2023 versions, is not a factor, because it is. I mean, it gives people that are new to this sport the ability to get into it with a new bike and warranty much easier than many of the bikes out there. The other thing is that some of the upgrades that I've done on this bike are as a result of me crashing. I demolished my handguards, I put a dent in the tank, I broke off my turn signal, which I have sitting right over there and I've got a mount, but I wasn't nearly as concerned about going down on a $5,000 bike as I would have been on a $20,000 bike, because gone down, I would have. It would have just been probably a lot uglier. So all that leads me to the next point, which is accessories and parts availability for the bike. There's tons of parts available for the bike. You can easily from your dealer get Royal Enfield Himalayan parts. In fact, they're pretty cheap. I cinched down this bracket that holds this mirror on a little bit too tight and snapped one of the sides, and I went in to go buy it. It's at a Harley dealership as well, ironically, and the two couldn't be any more different. And it was $15 to get the part, so that's inexpensive. The turn indicators that I finally got, I had to wait a little bit for shipping, and I did get them aftermarket, but they were $20 to be able to replace the indicators, and your bike's going to go down at some point. So having the ability to get the stuff and not have to spend a ton on it is great. pretty inexpensive and accessible. So the other thing about the Himalayan is not only is it a good entry level price point wise for somebody trying to get into the adventure touring market, but the way it handles, the way it's built with its low seat height and accessibility from a physical standpoint is great to give somebody that is new to the sport the confidence to be able to take it off-road. I mean, I want it a little bit higher. I can put my feet down super easily, and I want a little extra height. But that's just me. Not everybody is like that. There's a lot of shorter stature folks out there that definitely will appreciate this seat height. So the weight of the Himalayan is around 440-ish wet. That's on the lower side of the adventure touring bikes out there. The other bike that I was looking at before I bought this one was the Yamaha Tenere 700, and the weight is about the same as that one. Now, it doesn't have the clearance. That's one of the drawbacks that you get with a lower seat height. 440-ish pounds does not feel unwieldy on this bike at all, and it hasn't in, any situation that I've been in, except the snow. It's very, very pleasant to be able to get it to go exactly where I want it to go. And keep in mind, I am new to adventure touring. I'm new to off-road riding. I have one benefit in that I've ridden mountain bikes up in the mountains and on some pretty hardcore trails quite a bit. And that helps me in knowing which line I need to pick to ride down or up, depending on the situation. So I have that. But as far as all of this goes, it is all new and it's a lot of fun. And I think this is a great bike to learn on. So I'm not sure what the physical appeal of this motorcycle is because it's a funky looking bike. Somebody made a comment that they could easily see it in Blade Runner, and I agree. I don't know what kind of style that is. It does have a metal tank. It's not all plastic covered facade like a lot of the adventure bikes are out there. I'm personally not a fan of that. That's probably me coming from the Harley stripped down, chromed out background, but I like the way it looks, and I can't actually describe it. It's a little funky, and I like it. It works. It's different. So the minimalistic styling is appealing to me. The other thing that is minimalistic about this is the amount of electronic controls. There's not traction control systems. There's not, multiples of electronics on top of electronics to be able to keep this bike moving forward. It is very simple design. In fact, if it breaks down, you can go to any mechanic just about, and they're probably going to be able to help you get this thing up and running if they have any skills whatsoever. In fact, I can do a lot of the work on it myself, and I'm by no means a mechanic. One of my first experiences with a motorcycle and taking it apart, I bought a 72 CB750 Honda that was a basket case. I didn't spend much money on it, but I took it home, and in my dad's garage, I was 18 at the time, I took that thing apart, and there was thousands of parts all over the place once I had that thing disassembled. I looked at the mess that I created, and I said, I'm done. I am not even going to try to put this back together. It's always easier taking things apart, right? There was parts everywhere. It was so complex, and that's 1972. The next bike that I got was an 84 Harley Sportster that I bought as a basket case, $500 from Harley Davidson of Dallas. I took that apart. It all fit on one workbench. There was like 20 parts. I had the engine pulled out. There was nothing to it. I was sold. Simple, count me in. Especially if I'm going to have to do any of the work myself. And I'm a little bit of a control freak. I don't like depending on other people for everything. That's just me. So the last point that I'm going to make about this bike is it's fun. Mission accomplished. As far as my goal of getting up on the mountains, getting to the mountains, and then getting up the mountains with the same vehicle without having to trailer it, it has been so much fun. I can't really actually pinpoint why I'm having so much fun with it. I don't know. I can't really answer that. All I know is what the result is. There you go. There's my thoughts on the goods and the bads. It's not scientific. It's not technical. It's the butt test. It's the heart test. It's how I really feel about the bike and the results that I've gotten from it. I hope you appreciate it. And considering there's several of you that said, Ron, considering what you're riding, I think you might need to consider a little more dirt-oriented, off-road oriented tires than the seats that come stock on it. That says volumes about the places that I've been and the adventures that I've had. And by the way, I do have my Pirellis that I'm going to get mounted, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do it myself. I don't have a balancer, but this week I'm going to get those on there. I'm still kind of snowed in, but as soon as I have an opportunity, I cannot wait to try out some tires that have some real traction. Those things are tough, aggressive. So what's in store for the future? I already mentioned the tires are going on. I've got the Tech Bike Parts cam that I'm going to get installed here shortly and begin that break-in process because, like I said, the one challenge I have is just that top-end speed. And I really think that a little extra is going to go a super long way of getting me to the trails. Once I'm on the trails, there is no issue whatsoever. Haven't had one. More importantly, this next season, I'm going to get some doggone elevation. I'm going to ride as many trails as I possibly can in this riding season. I have no doubt that I won't be able to ride every single one of them around here, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I definitely want you along with me, so please consider subscribing just to see that. Hopefully there's not epic fails that you're going to be looking forward to, but great scenery. There's going to be a lot of great scenery. So where are we going to go? We're going to go on the Alpine Loop outside of Silverton. I'm going to go up Imogene Pass between Ouray and Telluride. I'm going to go up Ophir Pass. I'm going to go through Engineer Pass. I'm giddy. I cannot wait. I've never had cabin fever this early in the season to get out and it be summer. As far as the Himalayan goes, just to wrap up, fun. Tons of fun. And I am going to wear that sucker out this summer. It's either going to be the Himalayan or it's going to be me. I'm not sure I know exactly which one I want to win that competition. My wife would get mad at me if it was me that pooped out though. Hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me. I would love to have you on the adventure with me. All of the subscribers that I do have such great comments and suggestions. It's a great community. We'll see you soon. Y'all be safe out there.